Hey, Luminary, are you ready to move beyond judgment and walk on a path of courageous compassion in your leadership and change making? Well, on January 11th, the lunar nodes shift into Pisces and Virgo, setting the stage for a profound 19-month circle of aligned evolution. In this episode, we're going to explore how this transit asks us to let go of perfectionism, criticism, and control, and instead lean into trust, reflection, self compassion, and flow. I'm going to break down the collective and personal meanings of this lunar node shift and share practical ways for you to align with this energy in your life, your leadership, and your work. Plus, I'll invite you to my upcoming Vision StarLab 2025 workshop so you can map out your year with vision and excitement. Let's dive in. Welcome to my first episode of 2025. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for joining me again. And if you're new here, welcome to Star Powered. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your host, a multiracial, multifaceted, professional clarinetist turned web designer turned astrologer. Astrology helped me overcome an identity crisis by revealing my star-powered strengths. Now, I use these strengths to guide healers, entrepreneurs, leaders, and changemakers like you so that you can make your mark with ease and impact through the lens of astrology. Welcome. If equitable leadership, making your mark, and astrology are also your jam, please subscribe to this channel and share it with your business bestie. Hello, friends. Welcome again to the first episode of 2025. It took me a little bit to get into the groove, and I'm not exactly working per se. Like, I'm not meeting clients. I'm not doing a lot of external work. I'm doing so much internal work right now. And so coming to this podcast to give this information to you had a lot of bumps and starts. And so thank you, Jeff, in advance for doing the editing on this, because it took me a while to get to this point. But I really wanted to come on today to share a short episode with you as I take a break from writing my book. My manuscript is due in March. So I'm in full, buckled in, 90-minute sprints, trying to get 4 to 6 hours a day. Whew, that's hard for a projector like me. But I really wanted to come in so that I could share with you a little bit about these nodal shifts that are going on. And so I want to really talk today about what the lunar nodes are, why the lunar nodes are important, what this means on a collective whole, like for all of us here on this planet, and then the personal meanings for you. Maybe you have some mutable signs, maybe you're going through a nodal return when the nodes come back, like if you have Pisces, Virgo, maybe you're going through a nodal inverse, and how that you are going to, and give you suggestions for how I would love for you to harness this energy over the next 19 months. Okay. And so before we dive into all of that, I would just like to offer a moment of prayer and thought and hope and light for all of our friends in LA right now, suffering through these days upon days of the most epic wildfire storm in modern history. This is really bringing back for me memories of Lahaina when Lahaina burned. And I'm just sending all of my thoughts and prayers. If you have any light within you, if you are meditating, if you are a worker, an energy healer, please share some of your hope and your prayers to everyone that is suffering in LA. And, if you want a couple of rituals to, if you have an abundance of water, pour some water into the earth and make it as an offering, so that maybe the rains come, maybe we can soften the earth, maybe the winds can lessen a little bit. There's going to be an immense long road ahead. And may we use our compassion, maybe use our softness, maybe use our kindness to really give strength to those that are in most need right now. There's a lot of creators online right now that are sharing resources. I'm sure that you can easily find those resources to help people in need at this time. But do remember that as our human human-caused climate change. And may I take away this human-caused climate change? Can I say that this is like capitalism and greed caused climate change? These, the shifts that we have seen in the last 4 or 5 years that were like, oh my gosh, the next biggest thing, the next biggest thing, the next biggest thing, whether it be a flood or a fire or a hurricane, all of these disasters, these supposedly natural made disasters are getting amplified and exacerbated because of the way that the Western world consumes and the way that capitalist organizations, poison our mind to want to consume more, to drive bigger cars, to have more fast fashion, to drink bottled water, to do all of these different things. So, whatever you can do in your little part to take away that need to overconsume and to really decide on where you're going to spend your dollars. We need to make these corporations that are constantly pushing out fossil fuels really see their significance, because we only have one planet and one resource. And pretty soon, none of us are going to be immune from the disasters that are going on. So let me get off my little soapbox, but I'm just wanting to offer some heartfelt love and hope and strength for those that are suffering in LA right now. Back to the lunar nodes. Now, if you heard my last episode, and if you haven't heard it, just go onto YouTube or your favorite podcast player. I talked about all of the shifts and the astrological trends in 2025. I thought it was an amazing episode. I'd love to get more ears on it. The theme that I gave this lunar node shift is from criticism to compassion. Okay, so exactly what are the lunar nodes? Now, the lunar nodes are not physical entities out in the solar system. In fact, they are calculations of a meeting point. The meeting points of these calculations are the path of the moon as it circles the earth, and the ecliptic, which is the path of the sun and all of the planets across the sky. Now, these 2 points, the north node and the south node, they move backwards in the sky on your natal chart, on the astrological chart. They look to be going backwards. So that's why the lunar nodes are moving from Aries into Pisces. That north node is moving from Aries into Pisces, and the south node is moving from Libra into Virgo. And so the nodes typically mean the north node is your stretch potential, what you are moving towards, what we consciously need to choose. And our south node is the things that we've learned, our lessons and our patterns. And sometimes we can get stuck there because it feels really, really easy. And so when we're thinking about the lunar nodes from astrology with this kind of collective entity, over the next 19 months, as a collective, we are looking how to stretch into Pisces. We're looking how to stretch into compassion. We're especially self-compassion and vulnerability. We're looking how to stretch into flow and that interconnectedness and the universal love. When I think about this idea of Pisces and this universal love and coming together and seeing that we're all part of the whole, especially in a place like United States where politics is getting so much more divisive and so much more divided, we really need this Pisces energy to go across the line so that we can all work together. Now, the Virgo entities, we've learned hard work. We've learned detail orientedness. We learned data and being like hypercritical and like reliance on analytics and all this data, data. But data doesn't mean anything without giving it to Pisces, where Pisces can put it together and synthesize and show us what it means on that bigger picture. And so we're moving away from just relying on all of the details and compartmentalizing everything, being hyper judgmental and critical. Yes, we need those things to an extent, but if we get trapped there, if we get stuck there, we're missing the point. And so when we're thinking about this Virgo energy, we're saying, thank you for showing us the data. Thank you for showing us all the ways that we can become more effective, become, all the ways that we have worked too hard, but we have overcome done it. We become hypercritical. We've been burnt out because we've been working way too hard and not prioritizing efficiency over effectiveness. When we are thinking about efficiency, again, efficiency is this very capitalistic kind of terminology where, hey, it's only about profits. There's going to be somebody else who can replace you if you can't keep up with this work. There's going to be somebody that can replace you if you decide to take a rest. There's just another part, another like thing to consume, instead of looking at it for the long term, for efficiency, that if we rest, if we fill our cups now, we're going to have energy to sustain in the long run. And so over this next 19 months, we're really going to be exploring how we can consciously stretch into that Pisces so that we can feel, I am part of this whole, that it's okay to dance and be within the flow, that it's okay to take the time that I need, that it's okay to be kind to myself, especially when I'm feeling like I need to rest. Now, if we just look back a little bit, if we look back the last 19 months as the North Node was moving through Aries, that was teaching us that we each have an individual contribution, that it's okay to be genuinely ourselves, that it's amazing to know ourselves so well that we can opt out of things that we thought that we should be doing. It's wonderful that Aries taught us what our gifts were, what our individual contribution was, what we were really here to do, because hopefully you learned a lot about yourself in the last 19 months. And that the Libra and the South Node showed us all the ways that we were people pleasing, where we were putting other people on pedestals, where we were, trying to make other people happy without filling our own cups. And so you can see how this evolution now going into, I've learned about myself, I know what I need, I know what my individual contribution is, but now how can I contribute it to the whole? How am I a piece of this whole puzzle? How am I part of this universal love? How am I and my leadership and my contribution part of a drop in the wide ocean? So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with these collective energies. And towards that later in this episode, I'm going to show you how to reframe and dismantle so that you can really tap into this energy in your change making work. Now, the last time the lunar nodes were in mutable signs was back in 2020, when the North Node was in Gemini and the South Node was in Sagittarius. Whew. I don't need to remind you about 2020 and what a changeable and adaptability we all needed to create for ourselves at that time. But when the lunar nodes were in those mutable signs, so many things were shifting and changing. And so, how can you get really comfortable during this next 19 months with adapting and changing and going with the flow? Well, the key to that is going to be Pisces. It's going to be self-compassion. Okay, now self-compassion, what does self-compassion and courageous compassion have to do anything? Well, if you listen to my 2025 trends and report in my last episode, you're going to hear that our ability to be empathetic and to be compassionate, to connect through emotions heart to heart, is going to be one of the greatest skills that leaders need to make a mark in this coming climate. Because the more that AI is adopted into not only corporate and traditional work, but even in your entrepreneurial work, your solopreneur work, your healing work, it's going to be you. Your genuine you, your soul, your ability to feel into what that other person needs. It's not going to be, like the skills and the strategies and all of the things all the data points that you need. AI is going to end up doing so much of that. It's going to be that true connection, your humanness, that is going to be what people crave and desire. And so compassion is going to have everything to do with that. Your ability to have your emotional intelligence, your ability to be able to reach across and feel heart to heart, to be able to understand what people are saying in between the lines, and also that compassion about yourself, to know that you're not a bot, you are human, you make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. And so, how do you show up with vulnerability and genuineness and just be you? That is going to be the true way of making your mark in the next 19 months. Now, if you have a lot of mutable energy, so sun, moon, rising, any of your angles, your nodes, if you have a lot of mutable energy, this time as the north node and the south node are moving through Pisces and Virgo are going to impact you the most. Because remember, when we have the lunar nodes, depending on if they're what signs they're in, they're also going to dictate where the eclipses are going to be. We still have one partial solar eclipse in Aries on March 29th. That's going to be at the Aries of 9 degrees. And so, for everyone with all of this cardinal energy, you can say, thank you. I've gone through all of my groundbreaking, all of my breakthrough, because that's what eclipses ask you to do. If you have any strong cardinal energies, those last 19 months with all of those Aries and Libra eclipses really were hitting you on all of your cardinal energies, because it was asking those cardinal energies of yours to grow, to quantum leap, to take that jump into that next level. Well, now it's for us mutable folks. Yay. We're going to be having a series of eclipses. Our first, we already had that first Pisces eclipse in 2024, and then we'll have our total lunar eclipse in Virgo at 5 degrees on March 14th. And then that's when we're going to really get kicking into those Pisces and Virgo eclipses. So if you have a lot of Pisces and Virgo energies, like me, I have my my midheaven in Pisces and my south node in Virgo. I've already been feeling the up leveling. I've already been getting the messages to really go inwards, to really heal my emotional and psychological things within me, really rooting into my inner landscape so I can take this next leap in my outward work and change making. I've been getting those messages. Maybe you have been feeling it too. Now, I was meeting with a friend earlier for this amazing fun dinner. One of the other things that are part of my, not my goals or my resolutions, but ways that I want to nourish and feed myself this year is to really connect more in person and reach out and see the people that I love and enjoy. And they were so amazing. They were like, let's meet at this place so that we can be loud and laugh and just have fun. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I needed. I want to light up my body through laughter. And so when we met for dinner, she was sharing, she's like, oh my gosh, I have my north node is in Pisces, but my south node is in Virgo. No, opposite. My north node is in Virgo and my south node is in Pisces. What does this mean? I'm going to have my nodes are coming kind of back and I don't know what this is called. Well, it's actually called a nodal inverse. So if you have your north or south node in Pisces and Virgo, if your north node is in Pisces, you are going to be getting a nodal return, meaning that the transiting nodes are coming back to your natal nodes. And so if you have Pisces north node, then you're getting a nodal return as that north node gets into Pisces. If you have a Virgo north node and that Virgo south node is about to meet your Virgo north node, that is called a nodal inverse. And this happens like clockwork. And so if you're around that 45, 46 age range, you are absolutely getting this nodal inverse. Sometimes a nodal inverse, you'll hear it called as a nodal opposition. This happens every 18 and a half years, like 19 years or so. Happens, I said around 46 or 47. It happens again or previously right around your Saturn return, right before your Saturn return, around 27. And it also happens when you right after your second Saturn return at 65. So your nodal oppositions or nodal inverses happen around 27, 46, and 65, whereas your nodal returns happen around 37, 55, and 74. And so, what the heck are nodal returns and nodal inverses? Well, if the North Node in your natal chart represents your soul stretch potential by sign, by house. If you have planets near one of your nodes, you know that those planets have karmic energies related to them. Your North Node is saying, of all of the things that you are doing, I want you to focus it and aim it towards this one direction, towards that sign expression, your zodiac sign expression, towards that house expression. So if you have a North Node in, like me, in Sagittarius, be that Sagittarius. My Sagittarius is in the seventh house. Really work on those partnerships and consciously choose those things because those are not easy things for you. And so that nodal stretch, you're asking to move into it. When you get a return of that, it's so much easier for you to say, yes, this is my soul potential. I am reaching for it. I can see how I can get there. Now, if you're having a nodal inverse or opposition, that means you're clear on what you want to do, but you're having second thoughts of if the ways that you've been getting there to your soul potential, if those are working for you. And so, if you're 45, 46, 47, and you're approaching that nodal inverse, or if you remember those times right before your Saturn return, those were really, really confusing times for you because there was this conflict. You're like, I know where I want to go, but like how I'm trying to get there is full of potholes and it's not an easy road. Like there has to be an easier way. I remember that time because that was only about 4 years ago for me. And it was very, very confusing at that time. And you need that confusion because you need to reroute yourself. You need to fine tune the way that you're going to get there. You need to let go of things. And so, for all of us that we're all experiencing that South Node in Virgo, it is simply a reminder like, stop being so judgmental, like, stop being so hypercritical. For me, I'm mostly hypercritical. I have very high expectations for myself. And then for the people in my closest circle, like my husband and my son, oh my gosh, I can be super hypercritical for them as well. And I've been really trying to learn how to soften that, to see the big picture, to really appreciate them for their gifts instead of trying to like make them get better at things that they're not really, really good at. And so, what does that look like for you? Okay. And so take a note of where your nodes are. If you're having a nodal inverse, I want to offer you, it's going to be okay. Keep your eye on your North Node and the direction that you're going, and just reconsider how you can make little shifts because the old ways of getting to that same destination are no longer working for you. It's time to change things up. And if you're having a nodal return at this time, this is really wonderful for you to double down, to know that you're headed in the right direction, to know that the way that you're getting there right now should be working for you at this time, and to consciously choose to walk along that path. Because remember, these North Nodes and these South Nodes are showing us the way that we are going right now. It's telling us to focus and aim our direction. It's literally like the GPS compass that's saying, okay, go in this direction now. And if you're having that nodal reverse, it's like redirect, redirect. There's another route, even though it seems like you're taking like, a long route or a different route. the route that you normally take is not working for you anymore. So if this is you, I'm wishing you all of the love. And personally for me, I'm really looking forward to these nodes being in mutable signs, because I have so much mutable energy. I'm like, okay, I can use some up leveling here. So, for all of us, I want to next talk about how we can use this energy over our next 19 months, what this energy is ripe for us to do, and the questions that we need to ask ourselves, and what we really need to move away from. So again, the theme of this episode is from criticism to compassion. So, what are we moving away from? What are we dismantling? Of course, we are dismantling criticism. If you're asking yourself, why can't I get this right? Like, why isn't this good enough? Like, why, all of these things, like, my shirt is wrinkled, everything is you're always just looking at all of like the nicks and marks and the dings. Well, this is your call to ask yourself instead, what can I learn from all of this moment? What can I do about this? Why can't this be imperfect? Why can't I just let this all go? So, again, we're moving into compassion and understanding. What is the bigger picture so that I'm not stuck in the mud and I can raise myself out of the weeds? The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to look at perfection, right? Removing perfection, because we know there's no such thing as perfection, and move into this idea of progress. Okay. So perfection, similar to criticism, is what did I fail to complete? Why isn't this perfect? Like, waiting on things to be like absolutely be perfect before getting them done. Perfection is the opposite of done, and look at progress. Look at the little steps. As I mentioned, I've been in kind of my book writing mode. I'm on a writing sabbatical, which means I'm working, but I'm not working for clients. I'm not working in my membership. I'm not working on anything that's like going outward. I'm only working on things that are going inward right now. I thought that this book writing process was going to be fast because I have so much content. I have all of these courses. I have all of these like podcasts. I have everything. I'm like, oh, this is going to be really, really easy to just kind of compile it, make a few edits, and poof, send it out. But it's been much slower than I have anticipated it. And I haven't had as much time as I've been wanting to. The universe doesn't like a vacuum, it just fills it up with all kinds of things. And so I've been giving myself compassionate progress in this. Instead of beating myself up, I've been saying, tracking all the things I do. I've been tracking my energy, knowing that I work really good in like the deep morning before the sun comes up. I work really well when I can do like 90-minute sprints and then take a break. I've been doing really well when I can chart my progress. This is not filled out, but I have lots of other charts that are filled out. And just taking it one step at a time. And what I've been noticing with the writing that has been coming through is that things have been getting clearer. I've been able to really express myself and explain things in a much more cohesive and concise way, and really coming into my voice and my particular flavor of astrology, which of course is about liberation and freedom of expression and equitable leadership, how we are all here to be leaders, but also how astrology, you're the lived experience of the astrology. You don't need a book to tell you, well, a Virgo is this and a Pisces is that. Instead, well, what does Virgo coherence look like for you? How are you really working your daily practices? And Pisces, how is empathy and compassion and just understanding the bigger picture and vision, how is that already working in your life and seeing that as a strength through your lived experience? I'm not writing a book that is prescriptive that says, people, you should do this and this and this and this, because then that's just as oppressive as the world that I'm trying to, dismantle and rebuild. So I'm really coming into my voice by taking my time. If I was super hypercritical and, pushing myself harder and harder and harder, the book that I would have written wouldn't be my true voice. It wouldn't be that voice that I'm trying to share, that type of astrology that I'm trying to get people to open up into, that trusts themselves and their learned experience as the expert and the expertise. So, progress, not perfection. The other thing that I really want you to dismantle is productivity. And I want you to look at this idea of productivity, of efficiency. I talked about that a little bit at the very beginning of the episode. But to me, efficiency doesn't take into the account that we need to rest. Right. On the similar theme of progress, I want you to move into this idea of flow. When we are hyper productive, we go through these never ending cycles of burnout, burnout, burnout. Oh, we'll rest when we finish this thing. Oh, we'll take a vacation, after I work super, super hard so that, when I take a vacation, then things are going to come back. And, vacation is so stressful for so many of us, right? Because we work super hard before vacation, making sure all of our ducks in a row. And then when we come back from vacation, we have a gazillion million emails to answer and even more things on our to-do list. We're like, why should we go on vacation in the first place? That is so messed up, people. Right? Of course, that is a product of capitalism. It's a product of colonialism. It is a product that if you're not at the top, you don't deserve rest. If you're not contributing and being super, super productive, then you have no value. That is bullshit. Okay. Rest is so important. Resting daily, resting so that your cup is full before you're going to work, taking regular breaks, allowing yourself for slow reentry after a big, holiday break. I spent my first week of the holiday break just really decompressing from all the things that we had done before, that I feel like I didn't really get into my flow of I can finally relax until way after New Year's, when I finally started to forget what day it was and just wake up whenever I wanted to wake up and not feel guilty about, having a Hobbit. My family and I, we did a Hobbit marathon over a few nights, just, for the pure enjoyment of it, because we didn't have to do anything. And that was the rest that we finally needed, so that I was like, oh, I'm kind of bored now. I feel like working again. And then when I started working again, it wasn't jumping into the frying pan and go, go, go. It's just I'm going to get a little bit back into this. And I know that it's a very privileged place for me to be able to do that. But even if we're having to work and, make ends meet, how can we give ourselves more space? More space means more time for us to do nothing. Because in that nothingness, even though we're not producing things, even though that our time is not billable, even though that we're, according to hustle culture, we're not getting shit done, that rest and that nothingness is giving us capacity. It's giving us energy to fill our cups. It's allowing us to receive the downloaded messages and to feel our emotions that actually allow us to be more effective. And so I want us to move away from this hustle of being burnt out and being through these cycles of just constant productivity, doing and billing and all these things, and really see the value of stillness, of slowness, of rest, of flow. Truly, it is so valuable. And you'll start to reap the rewards of that value the more you practice it. Okay. Practice it without rigidity, right? That's how Virgo and Pisces, they need to work with each other. Virgo needs the processes and the routines and the rituals, but Pisces makes it so that it's more in flow and not so rigid, so that we're not getting caught up when things don't go exactly our way. Okay. The next thing that I want us to explore during this time is this idea of shame versus vulnerability. Okay. With shame, from we're dismantling shame, we're dismantling that kind of the shame, that Virgo judgment of ourselves. I'm so stupid. There's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be good enough. My work is going to be a failure. People are not going to like me. I'm just inherently wrong. Oh my gosh, shame is definitely my Achilles heel. That's what causes me to compare. That's what causes me to try to be like other people, because I ultimately feel like that I am not good enough. And maybe there's something in this about you where you can sense this, like, I'm never going to be good enough. You don't ever need to be good enough. You simply need to be good at being you. And that is where compassion comes in. It is a practice to be kind to yourself, to say, I love myself no matter what. And if you notice, the people who are the most attractive, they're not the most perfect, they're not the most beautiful. Instead, they're the most genuine. And what I mean by genuine is that they know who they are unapologetically. They love themselves. They don't beat themselves up for making their mistakes. They're like, oh, okay, well, I made this mistake. I take accountability for this mistake. I apologize for this mistake. Here's a decision, what I'm going to do with this mistake. And maybe you're not going to like what I decided that I'm going to do with this mistake. And I'm going to be okay because this is what I decided. And even if other people don't like it, well, there's nothing I can do with what other people don't like about it, because this is what I decided for myself. And there's genuineness in this. There is authenticity in this. And deep down, this comes from self-love and self-compassion, because I love myself so much that I'm unwilling to compromise on these core things about myself. And I'm giving myself this okayness instead of this shame. Okay. So I want you to practice this. Like, notice, are you have this like hyper judgment, hypercritical inner voice that's telling you you're not good enough, there's something wrong with you, and really understanding where that is coming from so that you can practice that self-love, to that genuineness and that self-compassion. Again, it is a practice. It is a practice to notice when that hypercritical voice comes through and say, okay, is this true? Whose voice is this? Where does this come from? And how can I tell myself I am loved? There's more than enough of me. This, even though I am imperfect, I am still lovable. I am still good. And what is my good enough? What is my best self? Okay. That's where that comes from. The last thing that I want to share for our next 19 months is this idea of controlling every detail versus trusting the process. This is such a good one. And so I have had so many clients that have come to me because they want a guarantee. They come to astrology because they're like, I want to know the answer ahead of the time. And I'm like, my friend, I can't tell you the answer ahead of time, because even though there is energy that is ripe for something, this energy has infinite ways of expressing themselves. And what if you needed to experience the thing that you didn't want to experience, the thing that you judged as perceived as a mistake or a setback. What if you needed to experience that because there was something that you needed to learn? There was something that you needed to pick up. So if you're trying to control every detail, not only are you making yourself mad because there's no way to control every single detail. And if you're trying to know the future so that you can avoid mistakes and mishaps, you're going to be missing valuable lessons. So trust the process instead. Know that your mistakes are not mistakes, but they're learning lessons. And learn what the bigger picture is, that understanding. What is it that you're here to understand in this process? What is this scenic route that you needed to experience? And how can you be grateful and see the beauty in all of these little annoyances, right? How can you trust the process that, hey, sometimes things need to take longer, and that if I'm just rushing through things and making things impatient because I want things to happen now, you're going to miss the point of being on this journey. And so let go of controlling every detail, trust in the process, let go of shaming, and give yourself all of the self-compassion, and to truly love yourself, to truly know that you are good enough. Let go of all of the hyper productivity and know that there is something bigger with progress and allowing yourself to rest. Let go of perfection and see where you can be perfectly imperfect. Let go of criticism and understand what you are here to learn in the moment. And so this next 19 months, we really get to explore these themes so that collectively, we can all see that we're moving towards this Piscean wholeness. We are moving into this interconnectedness. We're moving into this universal love of compassion, that we all have a part here, that we are all deserving of love, that we are all deserving of health, of water, of joy, of happiness. And even though we thank Virgo for showing us the way, for giving us our routines, for giving us our systems, we are not going to be stuck in that rigidity. So over the next 19 months, how can you live with more flow, with more flexibility? How can you dance with joy in your work, in your life, and your leadership? So my friends, I hope that you find some love and compassion over the next 19 months. And as you find your love and compassion, can you share it within the world through your work and just simply by being you? Now, if you love this episode and you are still listening, please consider subscribing. And if you'd like to work with me, I have an open workshop right now, a workshop that is open to the public called my 2025 Vision StarLab. It's a masterclass on January 23rd, on Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific, where we are going to star chart your mastery with Saturn, your breakthrough with Uranus, and your expansion with Jupiter in Cancer this year. So please consider joining me for this Vision StarLab. It's going to be a fun and interactive workshop. Of course, I'll probably be doing some mini readings at the time. So head on over to my website, starpowered.com, and look for the Vision StarLab. Consider joining me then. So thank you for joining me in this kind of bumpy episode, first episode of the year. I'm getting back into my groove, so I hope you understand. All right, bye for now. As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.